All right. Thank you all for joining us. We have Coach Close here to talk about the women's NIT.
All right. Hi, everybody. So appreciate y'all being here. And, I've got really mixed emotions. Oh, Pam's closing my door. Sorry. Is just really, so thrilled to have an opportunity to keep playing for two reasons. One is, this could be monumental. I know it was for one of our seniors in 2015. I remember Corinne Costa really helping her professional status by the way she performed in the WNIT. I think for our seniors, really having a chance for them to extend their collegiate career and to give them opportunities, hopefully to increase their productivity for their futures. So really excited to be able to serve them in that way. And then I'm excited for our whole entire team and especially our younger ones to get postseason experience and to, I just challenged them like, this is your opportunity to, become the team that you wanted to become. There's lots of things that were out of our control. We started to really put things together at the very end. Understandably, we actually got a couple practices to practice together, which miraculously amazing what that does. And then, we got a little healthier, which is a huge deal. So, but obviously the reality is that this is what we earned. And even with all of our obstacles, even with all of the, injuries, having 5 canceled games that we didn't get to play, so on and so forth, we had opportunities that we win just 1 or 2 of some of our last games. We're in the tournament. So reality is this is what we earned. So make the most of what we've earned, make no excuses, and let's go compete and become and show the team that we want to become and show. Mike, go for it.
Hey, Coach, you just talked about it. You win a couple games and you're in the tournament. But aside from that, what is your assessment of the team in that last, let's say, like 3-week span? Because from an outsider's perspective, it seemed like the team was kind of coming together, especially with some injured players returning.
Yeah. Honestly, it's like it just showed the tip of the iceberg about what we thought was going to be an evolving team from the beginning. That team that you saw at the end is who we thought we were going to become beginning of mid-December, so, before sort of things went crazy. I was really pleased with a lot of our toughness, a lot of the way we played defensively. We shot the ball better. I just thought our toughness and togetherness was at an all-time high the last 3 weeks. Well, I would say 2.5 weeks of the year. I think we could have done a little bit better I thought we showed glimpses in the Utah game, especially the first half. But we didn't sustain it. And so that's one of the ones that if we had, we'd be playing in the tournament right now. I think it's a little bit hard because we were showing such good things. I would have loved to, it is what it is. I think that the reality of that, what we showed, and if you were to ask any of the top 16 seeds, if they would want us to show up in their play-in bracket game, I bet they'd all say no. And that tells you pretty much all you'd want to say about how we were playing towards the end of the year. Nobody would want us to face us, but how do we channel that? And how do we channel that moving forward? I think we're in a really good spot to continue to grow. And I do think we were just in the last 2 weeks sort of showing what we thought was going to be the case most of the year.
Just really quickly, have you already started work looking at UC Irvine? What do you see from them?
Yeah, they press a lot. They play a fair amount of zone. We just started this afternoon, so I don't have but I was just talking to Coach Tasha about it. It's going to be her scout. And we're going to focus today on practice a little bit more on some of the things we know we need to work on. But so far, what we know, they're very well coached. They're versatile. They got a good Spaniard post player. They got some good guards that are really attack, but I think we match up pretty well. And I'm excited to see how we grow. I think it just will be a little bit more zone than maybe we've played in a while. Oregon would be maybe an exception to that, but I think that will be the one thing, and then just playing against their press, but I'm just starting to scratch the surface in my prep for them.
Lauren, go ahead.
Hi, Coach. Just wanted to ask, are you guys approaching a WNIT game any different from an NCAA tournament game?
Well, it's a good question, Lauren. I hope not. But if I'm being honest, I think there are some emotions you have to work through. We had a Zoom last night as a team right after the selection show. And, that I think we always tell our teams, if you don't handle your emotions in a healthy way, they come out in an unhealthy way. So I think, all of them are going to process this a little differently. Right. And I think we're all thankful to have the opportunity to continue to play, but you have to deal with your own regret. You have to deal, and that's me as a coach down through all of them. You have to deal with the disappointment of, I wish I was playing in that other tournament. And you have to have a spirit of gratitude, but you still get to play. I was just over watching Emily. She's starting her running progression. And it was so fun. I asked her about, she and Gina Conti went down and supported the rowing team in their match yesterday. And I said, how was it? She goes, oh my gosh, it was so fun and so humbling. And I said, what do you mean? And she says, here they get up at the, crack of dawn. They are rowing, just really competitive. And it was such an honor to support them. And then right after their the regatta, they go and clean their own boat. And they go and, do all these things that is really sacrificial. And she said, it just put perspective to me about how lucky we are, how fortunate we are to have the opportunities we have, to have so many people that invest in our experience. And they were so thankful and joyful to do it. And she said, when I listened to Emily, I just said, that's what I want our team to be, is joyful and thankful and humbled that we get to do this. And we are very fortunate to do what we do. So, I hope not, but if the reality is truth is truth, right? So we got to deal with the truth that's in front of us. And for some of our players, it may be different than others, but I fully expect, I told them all on Friday, I said, look, you guys, no matter what happens, you're not going to be able to control the events, but you can completely control your response. And all of us, including the staff, all the way down, we will control our response. We will compete. We will be ready. And we will attack this with a spirit of competitive greatness and joyful gratitude.
Awesome. Thanks for your response. And then just one more quick question about doing the postseason at home in Poly. So you guys did that in 2014, right? What was that like, and how was it kind of different?
I think that, that's one of the silver linings is that, we had a lot of ups and downs with our fans and just how we played in Poly this year. We were one of the best home court advantages in the country for several years. And we stumbled a little bit this year. And so I think it's a great opportunity to play at a high level, reconnect with your fans, show them sort of a glimpse of a momentum of what we have going into next year. I think it helps with that too. And every year after that, we hosted the NCAA tournament, so with the exception of San Antonio, that was obviously a bubble. So, I think it's just a great opportunity to not only connect with your fans right now, but it's building momentum for getting them excited for what they're going to see in the future as well, because we have a lot of exciting things coming.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Tiffany.
Hi, Cori. It's good to see you.
You too.
When you have those conversations with players, I know in 2015 there were some players that said, we don't want to do this. It's been a hard season. We don't want to do this. What was those conversations like with the group this year?
Well, I think I learned something from that experience, that it's not a democracy, right? So it's my job to lead the program in directions that we think we need to go. But that being said, I did have conversations with our seniors and with Chantel and Jay Penn, and especially the ones that are playing. And, obviously Mari and I'm forgetting, Nat And so though, I really did have conversations with them and just said, hey, this is, we had to turn in the paperwork and the bids before we knew, obviously. And I just said to them, look, this is what I think is best. This is what we're thinking. I have to turn in the paperwork. And I just gave them a chance that if you want to talk to me individually, you can. I just wanted to keep you in the loop. And we actually didn't have anyone say anything. In fact, I remember Natalie and Jay Penn said, Natalie and Jay Penn first, right off the bat, said, let's keep playing, whatever it takes to keep playing. And so I think we, there's just a different sense of it. And I think the last couple of weeks helped. That was our most fun few weeks of basketball, of this, a very difficult year. So I think that helps a lot, right? Is that I think there's a sense of, we're just sort of getting started with how we can play. And I said, there's nothing holding you back in that. I mean, bottom line is you can play. Doesn't matter if it's for the WNIT or for the NCAA. Bottom line is you get to finish on your best note. Let's do that well. And so, but no, there wasn't like that. And you have a good memory, Tiffany. It was very difficult. And I think I learned as a leader how to handle that better. I think that, I really didn't give them an opportunity other than one-on-one. But at the same time, I think it was pretty clear that was the best thing for our program.
And at that time, the WNIT was huge in that it kind of vaulted the program to some NCAA success. And it was early in your career here. You had a lot of young players. Jordan and Mo were freshmen at the time. And so it really went a long way in establishing the culture. And now that this team is, so far into your tenure here, like what kind of purpose does a tournament like this serve?
Well, it's so interesting you say that because the reality is, though, we have 8 people on our roster this year that were not on our roster last year. And, so yes, there were 6 new players on the roster, freshmen on the roster that year in 2015. But, we got a lot of players that were not a part of our year last year, from all the transfers to the opt-outs to, all of those things. So it really is a new team. The only difference is we have a more established culture. We have different expectations. So yes, that part is different. And some of the obstacles that we faced this year have been different. But I think that it's interesting how the challenge of molding that new chemistry was actually in some ways very similar, much more similar than I would have anticipated, quite frankly. So, I think that really is what you saw start to turn the last couple of weeks, is that we started to look more like a team that has linked together, connected purpose. Whereas I didn't feel like we had that for most of the year. We weren't, at least not consistently. And so, that's going to be our challenge, to keep that going.
And maybe this was like a conversation I missed, but is there a possibility that Gina could come back after missing all of this year? Like she could have a redshirt year or something?
Correct. She could. Okay. So that's what, she's got before her. And I think you'll be hearing soon about her particular answer.
Mm-hmm. And from yesterday being the first time Selection Sunday was both the men and the women together, what are your thoughts on how the NCAA has addressed some of the inequities that came up last year, and what would you kind of like to see continue in that step in the coming years?
Well, you and I could have a long, story on that. I actually have had six interviews, I think, right, on that subject, Liza, something like 5, I think. 5 interviews in the last week on this subject. And, I think that it's I feel very dually about it. And I thought that they did a really nice job on the selection show yesterday. So to answer your first part, and they're even courageous enough. Holly Rowe, interviewed Nina King, who was the chair of the committee, as well as Lynn Holzman, the president of women's basketball championships for the NCAA, and asked some hard questions. And if you continue to listen to the broadcast and watch it, Nikki Fargas and Carolyn Peck minced no words in terms of what they wanted to see moving forward in terms of continued, they use the word systemic work that really needs to be done. And so the reality is that we need to be really grateful, because a lot of people have busted it to address some of the issues that have happened. Adding the 68 teams, that's 4 more teams that are getting a chance to experience March Madness. That's wonderful. And as it should be. The swag bags, the food, the referees, the hotel accommodations are exactly the same across the board. That has never been that way. So there was over $5 million invested to bring equity to this year's championship, primarily focused on the student athlete experience, as it should. And those are really, really good steps. But when you think about me naming that, I mean, and I do celebrate that, and I'm grateful for that. And I was a part of the Kaplan report that met every week in regards to some of these things that needed to happen. But think about that. We're celebrating that, refs are staying in the same accommodations. We're celebrating that food is the same. We're celebrating that we get to use the same March Madness logo. We get to have increased signage and branding, which is a great thing. And those do all come at a cost. So there needs to be a sense of gratitude towards that. But that was low-hanging fruit. Now our next step is, and we needed to do that, and I'm thankful for the way that the NCAA has stepped up. $5 million is no chump change, right? So, but, the reality is that we need a distribution model, a revenue distribution model. It doesn't have to be the exact same. We're not at the same markets, but I think there needs to be something because you used the example last year. You should never have asked me this question, Tiffany, because I'm like a wind-up doll. But the reality is that last year, look at the men. How awesome was it that the men had such a great year for the Pac-12? I mean, banner year, best year they've had in over a decade. And that netted over $40 million for the conference. And that is awesome. That is so great. And the women had an even better year. And it netted what for the conference? 0. And so what do you think conference offices, presidents, ADs are encouraged to do? You put them in an impossible situation. They have to just invest in their men and not invest in the women. There's no return on that. And so I think that's an example of the systems that are in place that continue to inhibit the growth of women's basketball. And let me be really, really clear about this. I love men's basketball. I love men's sports. I am not asking to reslice the pie. What I think needs to happen is we need to examine our systems, our contract, our broadcast agreements. We need to have the NIT treated the same. Right now, the men have a distribution model for the NIT. We are paying to play in the NIT. That takes some schools out. I know a school that their men and women both got invited to the WNIT. The men got a distribution return. The women had to pay. They said you can only go if you fundraise. How does that work? So the women didn't go, the men got to go. And so there's these things that need to be addressed from a systematic point of view so that we can not slice the pie differently so anyone gets any less, so that we have an equal chance to enlarge the pie and to invest in women's basketball as an asset. As a potential revenue stream, not as a cause. All right, I'll shut up now.
Another time we'll get back to it.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Mike, did you have a question? You had your hand up earlier. Right.
Mike's like, I ain't asking her any more questions.
Anybody have anything else?
And I would anything you guys can do to breed enthusiasm. We purposely did not try. We tried to go off of Thursday because our men were going to Thursday. If you can anything you can do to breed enthusiasm about this is going to be awesome. Our women are so excited to represent our great university. As much enthusiasm as we can drum up to get people behind this on our campus on Friday. That would really mean a lot to us. So we appreciate all your help up to this point. And if you can continue to beat that drum, we appreciate it.
And one other thing to add too is that a lot of the WNIT champions from the last couple of years have gone on to, in future years, to do extremely well in the NCAA tournament. Arizona last year or made it the year after they won the WNIT. Our team, obviously, in 2015 went on to 4 straight Sweet 16s. Indiana, all of these teams have done really well. So the WNIT is a great springboard for the future. And also, on top of the WNIT champions we have in our coaching staff, Jalen Penn also won one her freshman year.
That's right. Good job, Liza. Yeah, I think that, a lot of our players, even like Angela, who played in the NCAA tournament for Oregon last year, she didn't play very much, so to get postseason experience, obviously she played in the Olympics, so that's pretty big too. But anything that she can get experience in pressurized moments with our team, that's just one example. But there's so many of our young players, Dominique, just hasn't had this kind of experience, just all of our just Izzy, every time she gets out on the court she just makes tremendous strides as long as no one hits her in the head. But I just think it's one of those things, right, that experience is so invaluable, and it just gets better and better as it gets more pressurized as the tournament goes on. And so hopefully we can earn a chance to keep playing in the tournament. Irvine's going to be a really good team. But those kinds of experiences are really invaluable, especially for those younger kids.
All right. Thank you everyone for coming.
Appreciate it. Thank you.